Chapter 8 A Competition. After his fight with the Royal Society, Newton withdrew into himself. He concentrated on his secret study of alchemy. He claimed he wasn't interested in scientific research anymore. Maybe he meant what he said at the time, but his greatest work was still ahead of him. In 1684, 3 members of the Royal Society were chatting in a coffee house about current scientific issues. These 3 were Newton's enemy Hooke, a young astronomer named Edmund Halley, and Christopher Wren. A famous architect. Wren had been trying to understand how and why planets orbited the sun. Now he asked the other 2 men for help. People already knew what path an orbiting planet actually followed. Johannes Kepler had shown in 1609 that it was an ellipse. They also knew that the amount of force between the planet and the sun decided the path of the orbit. But something else was involved that no one could figure out. The strength of the force changed in a complicated way. Depending on how far apart the 2 bodies were, the force got weaker as the planet and the sun got farther apart. That made sense, but the force and the distance didn't seem to change at the same rate. The force changed faster and faster the more the distance grew. No one could figure out exactly what the relationship between the distance and the force was. Scholars had to come up with various ideas to explain the relationships. One suggestion was a mathematical relationship called the inverse square rule. Wren thought this might be the right one, but he had tried to prove it and he couldn't. Wren put the problem to his friends. Could they prove, using mathematics, that the inverse square rule would produce an elliptical orbit? If so, they would have created an important new law about the way the planet moved. Hooke bragged that he had already done this, but he wasn't ready to tell the others how. First, he wanted them to try and fail. Then he would show them. Wren and Halley didn't take Hooke very seriously. When Newton had produced this wonderful telescope, Hooke claimed that he had already made a telescope that worked even better and was so small he could hang it from his watch chain. Wren offered a prize, a valuable book, to whoever could show him the mathematical proof first. After 2 months, Hooke still hadn't shown him anything. Nervously, Halley decided to approach the prickly Newton. Like Hooke, Newton said he had already proved that the inverse square rule would produce an elliptical orbit years before. Unfortunately, he wasn't sure where he had put the proof. He had only done it for his own amusement. He promised to send it to Halley as soon as he found it. Unlike Hooke, Newton wasn't just bragging. Within a few months, Newton was able to send Halley his proof.